about a body being discovered at 3213 Masseyville Road, which is the old Masseyville Dairy Bar. Deputies arrived on the scene and discovered a female body lying in the weed with a large amount of blood in the area of the parking lot. Detectives and coroner's office arrived at the scene. The body was taken into custody of the Ross County Coroner's Office. A suspicious death investigation was started at that time, and BCI was called in, was requested to come in to help process the scene. Our detectives and BCI worked throughout the night and through Saturday night into the early Sunday morning hours with great effort to follow up on all the information that was received through this investigation. The coroner's office on Saturday identified the body as 38-year-old Timberly Claytor. Primary autopsy report found three gunshot wounds to the victim's head. Investigators compiled a list of several suspects in this homicide investigation and continue to work to meet with those people and interview them. A search warrant was executed on a vehicle by the Ross County Sheriff's Office and BCI and I. Presumptive tests indicate that the vehicle was involved in the homicide and likely where the homicide occurred. A primary person of interest has been arrested on a charge unrelated to the homicide. During the investigation, evidence was found that Jason A. McCrary, who is a registered sex offender, was residing at a residence on Masseyville Road and had failed to register a change of address. Investigators recovered a great deal of evidence from the vehicle, including blood, DNA, and a bullet. That evidence has been sent to BCI and I for processing. I have with me Prosecutor Matt Schmidt and Police Chief Keith Washburn, and we'll open this up for questions at this time.
Sheriff, I talked to a couple of witnesses the other day, and they said that McCrary knew every one of these women involved, including the missing women. Can you comment on that?
Can't comment on that as far as that information. I can say that, we are looking at all avenues that if he knew these other people.
Are you naming who the other suspects are in this?
No.
That there are more than
He's our primary suspect of interest.
How many other suspects are we talking about, and what roles do you think they played in this?
And really, these were just names coming up that we should check with, and that could have had contact or knew the girl, the Timberly Claytor lady, and those were talked to.
He's sexual. Is he still part of the sexual registered offenders? I saw that his thing in court was that he didn't appear. He failed to change his address. Can you talk about that?
He is a Tier 1 sex offender, so he has to report for 10 years after the sentencing.
He's still registered as a Tier 1 offender. Mr. McCrary was convicted over a decade ago of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor and has to register on that basis. He was found at a location with evidence indicating that he had changed addresses without going and re-registering with the sheriff's office required.
What do we believe about how he came into contact with Ms. Claytor?
We're not certain yet. We're still looking at evidence obtained from local surveillance cameras, local businesses, trying to piece together what her final limits were.
Did they know each other?
We can't say that with any definitive so far. There's a lot of people involved that we think knew one another. There's certainly been indication. I know that those of you in the media have talked to some who have suggested that different people that are missing may know each other, and that's something we're looking at very seriously.
Is there any evidence to suggest that Claytor was sexually assaulted?
At this time, no. That's still through all the testing and, of course, through the coroner.
We know when and where the homicide actually occurred. You said in the vehicle. Do we know when?
We know a rough time frame. We know it happened that night before she was found. As far as an exact time, we're unable to pinpoint that at this time. We believe that the vehicle was where it likely occurred. And where the vehicle was is something we're still working on.
I'm sorry. Can you recall calling it a homicide yet? Or?
Absolutely.
But no charges against this suspect?
Not yet.
Do you anticipate them anytime soon?
Well, we're waiting on forensic evidence right now. There was a great deal of blood, bullet fragments recovered that we're waiting on results from BCI, and once we have those results back, as far as DNA testing, we'll be a lot further along in charges.
What else can you guys tell us about McCrary?
In terms of
Just his background?
criminal history, he has three prior felony convictions. convictions that he served time for, one for aggravated robbery, I believe, and one for complicity to burglary.
If you look on the municipal side and on the common police side, he has probably 30 or 40 under municipal and at least 8 under common police. It seems like he's a pretty, a guy that's had more than his fair share of run-ins with the law.
He's had numerous contacts with law enforcement. Now, keep in mind, when you look at common pleas, not all of those were initial criminal cases. There are also appellate cases that show up on there that would make the number look higher than what it is. But certainly, yes, he's no stranger to law enforcement.
And one of the witnesses told me yesterday, I know you kind of referred to this, one of the witnesses told me yesterday that he may have lived with Timberly at one point or another. Have you confirmed that?
We have great concern about the contact he would have had with the missing girls, and that's why Chief Washburn's here. He had reached out to the FBI to start a task force, and I'll let him explain that to you.
Last week, we asked for FBI assistance in the 3 missing women's case. We're in the process now of forming a task force. We've been offered help from BCI. Right now, the task force is the FBI, Chillicothe Police Department, Ross County Sheriff's Office, Ohio State Highway Patrol, and we have calls in to Portsmouth Police Department and Sauter County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Lavender's dedicated resources. We've dedicated resources. 2 detectives are assigned only to the 3 missing persons cases at this time. The State Highway Patrol is also assigned an investigator to it, so we're trying to amp this investigation up, try to find these 3 missing ladies.
Chief, why did you reach out to the FBI, and at what point were these detectives assigned and dedicated to this case?
Previously, 1 detective had each case. Each detective had a case, and I decided it's time to amp this up. We need to find these women. So I've assigned 2 detectives to the task force, and those 2 detectives have all 3 missing girls cases right now.
What prompted you to reach out to the FBI and request their help on this?
It's just something that I did. I knew we needed to amp this up, and I thought it was about time to do that. We had some assistance from the FBI, nothing major, but we need to get closer to this. We need to have this happen.
Are you talking about Trego, Sayre, and Lemons?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any chance that anything's going to be reopened on Shasta Hemorrhage?
That's not our investigation.
It's not. That's pretty much that investigation.
Shasta Hemorrhage has been ruled a suicide.
Is it just a coincidence that you had 7 women missing and 3 of them are now dead?
I mean, we're always looking into that. We are still looking to who had the last contact with the lady that was sent to Mika Lynch, which was found in Paint Creek. We're still looking at that. There's answers that we want in that case, of course. But like the chief said, with the 3 women that's currently missing, this young lady that her life was taken to this homicide, we just really need to put effort into finding where these women are and what's going on with them.
Do you believe these are related?
Pardon?
Do you believe the missing women and these women who've been found dead these cases are related?
Do we think they're related? We are, of course, checking into that possibility. We're always open to do that. And, as we go forward, as we get a good suspect in charge, then with the homicide, of course, we're going to do a lot of follow-up on that.
Are any of you aware of any common threads between these different cases?
There's a common thread in terms of the places that the victims frequented and some of the people they were associated with. But in terms of the manner of what happened to each of these different females, no, there's not a particular common thread.
So when you say places they frequented, are they
Locations in town, areas in 2nd Street, individuals that they involved with.
are these drug houses, drug locations?
Certainly there's a drug
Connected
element to
prostitution,
it.
or
There's a drug element to it. Sure. But we don't know with all of them if drugs were involved in their death. Obviously, with the most recent one, it's not an overdose death; it's a homicide.
but as far as the lifestyles or the scenes that they were involved in, is it safe to say that all of these women or in some way involved in drug use at a local drug scene?
I don't want to conclusively say for each of these women. Certainly, there have been some that have gone missing that are involved in that scene, and we're looking at that connection very seriously because it's concerning.
Tamika and Timberly were pretty close friends a couple of years ago. Or is it just coincidence, or did they meet on the street, or how do you know these women are connected?
I can't answer that question, I really don't know, I just know that they had known each other.
Known each other through being on the street, or?
No, I don't know what to look.
I don't want to speculate about what their relationship is. I don't think that's fair to them at this point in time.
There's been some community concern that there may be a serial killer in the area. Is that something you guys are considering and investigating?
I mean, you always look at that possibility. We've got too many young ladies missing, so we always want to look at that possibility and see if there is anything to that. That's again why we reached out to Columbus, and we're reaching out to Schmidt County because they have a couple of females missing too. So we wanted to touch base with them and see what's surrounding their cases, and if they can have the availability of resources to bring them to the task force, we can look at it.
How many total cases do you have that involve missing? For 3, then even 7. What's the definitive count you have?
There are 3 open missing cases in Chillicothe. I believe 2 in Sauter County, 2 in Columbus.
The 2 in Scioto County and Columbus, those names, do you have those?
I don't have those names.
You're looking to partner with Scioto County and with Columbus. Have you heard back from them as far as task forces?
We have calls into, we're waiting on a response from them.
What is the task force going to do? What's the timeline?
We are preparing. I have my clerk calling for a tip line. We're going to put a tip line in. We're going to start working out of a specific office to start putting all of our personnel together so they can sift through all the current information we have, past information we have, and see if there's a common denominator of the names that keep coming up in connection with these girls.
Other than the fact that they're missing women, the cases in Columbus and the Scioto County cases, are there other things that are in common with the cases you guys have?
Not that I'm aware of. I just know they have missing people, and we're going to reach out to them to, of course, get information that they have on there so we can compare it to information we have on there.
So nothing about the victims, their backgrounds that make you think these could be related in any way?
No. Like I said, I don't want to. I think we're going to be cautious not to prematurely comment on that. With regard to missing women's lifestyles and who they knew, that's something we're looking closely at, but not something we're ready to publicly release or say that's a common denominator. It's something we consider. The question was asked earlier if we're looking at it as a possible serial killer. That's a possibility we have not ruled out. We don't want to jump to that conclusion because it's possible that some or all of these missing persons are independent of one another. But what we are looking at, whether they correlate, that's one of the reasons why we're looking to share information and create a task force approach to it between the county, the city, and the FBI is providing us with resources, technologies we wouldn't otherwise have. We've reached out to other communities that are engaged in are facing a similar problem because we want to share information with them and hopefully they'll share with us because if there is a connection, we want to know about it.
So you say the serial killer aspect, something you haven't ruled out. Is there anything at all that indicates that may be what we're looking for?
There's not. At this point, there's no smoking gun that says, hey, we've got a serial killer on the loose. We have missing people and we have a homicide. And there are certainly people talking in the community and people that are upset and understandably concerned about that. And when there are those concerns, we don't rule that out. We have to keep an open mind to the possibilities, but the evidence can dictate where we go with the investigation.
What happens now with McCreary? I mean, you're holding him on unrelated charges. You can only hold him for a short time on that. Right?
Well, we can hold him long enough to, depending on what the court sets for bond, we'll present his most recent violation, the failure to register to the grand jury. And my intent is to indict him and prosecute him for that, regardless of where the homicide investigation takes us on.
So he was taken into custody when?
He was taken into custody Saturday.
Could you say, can you verify when he was taken?
was taken into custody in Masseyville. I don't know the
On
exact.
Masseyville Road, residential Masseyville Road.
And that's where the vehicle was found? So is he set for a court appearance or anything anytime soon? Or
I'm
has
not
that
sure
happened?
he has a preliminary date yet set in municipal court. We don't have a date in common pleas yet because he hasn't presented a grand jury.
But that failure to register, that's as a tier 1 sex offender.
Yes.
And he has a prior to that. Prior to being registered.
How old is he?
I think he's
He was 36.
If it's felony, just less than.
MCCRAR1.
What
Got
led you
sheets
guys,
for,
what led you guys to Masseyville Road? Was it just the failure to register, or was it tips from?
information coming in from people that was giving us names of people and who had been with, Timberly, that night, just some of those names were coming in, and so that's what we started working on and going through there. We're gonna conclude the interview. One thing I never want to lose sight of, it's our sincere prayers that these other girls will be found alive, and we wanna focus on that. We're gonna make every effort, through this task force, and that's our main prayer, that these ladies are located, they're located alive. But, if it's different than that, we wanna do what's right for those families. So, again, thank you for coming, and we appreciate
There's
you.
been a lot of speculation about the issue of human trafficking and that potential involvement. That's all the question. You can't answer that other question, just one more?
I'll answer your question. Brian can answer. What was the
Thank you,
question?
Matt.
Sure. What was the question?
There's just been a lot of speculation about the possibility of human trafficking being involved. Have you guys seen any indication of that, or do you believe that to be involved in any way?
Listen, we have certainly seen indicia of human trafficking going on in our community. Now, whether it's related to the disappearance, we don't know. But that is certainly something we're considering and we're looking at, and that's one of the reasons we reached out to the FBI and the DCI for assistance with that.
Does that mean there's federal violations that could be going on that the feds might get involved in this?
Listen, that's a possibility, but I can't speak for what the feds are willing to consider prosecuting and what they're not, because that's outside of my jurisdiction at this point.
You guys have a mugshot on McCreary?
Yeah, we do have one. Mike will bring that back and provide that to you, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.